But what I've learned in my journey is that the quantity of calories we consume isn't, I think I already said, but isn't the most important thing, and that quality.
Hello, everyone. My name is Asim Gul, and I'm an integrative nutrition health coach. I welcome you all to Back to Basics, a place where we focus on the power of basic lifestyle changes to heal ourselves. One of the common debates and concerns that people often have revolves around the number of calories they get from their food every day and what it does for their body. But are all calories equal? If not, what else do we need to know about the food we eat? Our guest for today, Bailey Easson, will shed some light on this topic today. A little about her. Bailey was not always as passionate about nutrition and wellness as she is now. Quite the opposite, actually. Growing up, she struggled with her weight and the impact it had on her confidence and self esteem, which often led to her using food to cope up. When she was 21 years old, Bailey discovered that she had grown to nearly 300 pounds and had developed a problem with hypertension. Her doctor prescribed medication for hypertension and advised that losing weight would help her blood pressure come down naturally. Not wanting to be a 21-year-old woman on blood pressure medication, Bailey finally had a strong enough motivator to start taking her health seriously. Since then, she has been on a journey of weight loss, better health, fitness, and self love. Over the years, she managed to lose 100 pounds, an accomplishment she previously never would have thought would be possible. Since that milestone, she has gained some weight back, but more importantly, she has gained an appreciation for clean living, physical activity, and what her mind and body are capable of. With this newfound passion, she decided to pursue a career in helping others make a change for their better in their lives and health as well from a mind, body, and soul approach. Bailey recently graduated from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition as a certified health coach and is currently building her practice, Yana Health Coaching. She lives in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois with her boyfriend and their pets. Thank you, Bailey, for joining me here.
Thank you, Sim. I'm glad to be here.
Great. So, there's so much debate and concern that people often have about calories, what to eat, what not to eat, how many calories there are in this certain food. Should we be avoiding that food because it is high in calories? So, let's understand more about this. So, tell us, what are calories?
Right. So, simply put, calories are a unit of measurement of energy. I remember learning in chemistry class that it's the amount of heat needed to raise the temperature of a quantity of water by 1 degree. But I think that there are certain words society, particularly in diet culture, tends to end up stigmatizing as bad, and calories is one of them. They're spoken about like there's something to avoid or to be afraid of, but calories are not good or bad. They just are. They're necessary, and because again, they're energy. We need them to fuel our bodies.
True. So, how much do we need to consume per day for an average adult? What would you suggest is the recommended amount of calories?
So, as you know, at IIN, we're taught this concept of bioindividuality, which captures the idea that health and nutrition is different for everybody, that one person's food is another person's poison, and that same rule can be applied to calorie consumption. What's needed is different for everybody. There are calculators that you can use to get an estimate of what your body likely needs depending on what your goals are. These calculators take different factors into consideration, like gender, age, height, weight, and activity level. So for example, I am a female, age 30, 6 foot 2 inches tall, weighing approximately 215 pounds, and live a slightly active lifestyle. According to the calculator, I would need about 2,500 calories a day to maintain my weight. I would need to consume about 2,000 to lose weight and about 1,500 to lose weight more quickly. Comparatively, if I use that same calculator but shift the gender to male, the calorie intake goals all shift upwards by about 200 calories, and that's just from shifting it the gender factor. So even gender can have a huge impact on the daily calorie needs for people.
And again, so the caloric intake would also go up if it's not just the gender, but the height is also going up.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everybody's, bodies are like, I need more just because I'm a larger person. No matter what I weigh, I'm a taller person, so it's going to take more energy to fuel my body. And then yeah, then like age makes a difference because as we get older, our metabolism slow down, and so the calories I needed to consume to lose weight, when I started my health journey, which was about nine years ago, is likely very different than it is
That's great.
today.
I have two small questions here.
Mhm.
When it comes to caloric intake, so you already, briefed us about what really matters and what does it depend on, how many calories would you need. Two things I want to ask you: do they impact the number of calories that we must be consuming on day? So one is your sleep. If a person is having in 8 hours of sleep, another person is sleeping for 10 hours, you think the person with 10 hours of sleep would need more calories?
Do I think the person with 10 hours of sleep would need more?
Like,
Um,
do we need more calories if we are sleeping more? Just, what do you think?
that's interesting. I don't know the exact answer to that question, but it's a good question. I would think actually that the person who slept less would need uh, would would need more calories, because what often happens when we get tired or when we haven't slept enough is like we start craving like carbs, because we want that energy, because we're not naturally running it at full capacity. So yeah, I don't know enough about how sleep can factor
And
into
what about
calorie needs.
and what about stress? So, if people are stressed, do you think they're actually consuming more calories?
I think that's possible just because when we are stressed, many of us do tend to turn to food.
Hmm.
So it becomes more of the like, you're not necessarily eating more because you need more, but just because.
Also, do you think it's also because our body is using up more energy to really go into that fight and flight response? So when it's using up more energy, I think we are, and have a higher requirement for calories, and that's why a caloric intake would definitely go up. People who are more stressed. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's definitely possible. Because then, of course, then with the stress factor, there's the digestion issue of like when we're stressed, our digestion isn't working properly. So then we get into the whole like, are we intaking more calories, but then not even digesting them properly, and the impact that that's having on our bodies. Yeah, I feel like that's a whole other conversation that
That's
could be
great.
had.
I think you summed it up pretty nicely. How you said that when we haven't slept well, we end up eating more, or when we are stressed, we end up eating more. So these are two things. That's why the reason why I asked you, because oftentimes what happens is people are having a normal day, but if they haven't slept well and if they're too stressed, their relationship with food gets disturbed. Uh,
Mhm.
Depending on the types of food that they choose. So the real thing that it comes to is the quality of calories, right? So
Yeah.
my next question for you would be like, what really defines the quality of calories?
So I think what defines the quality of calories is their nutritional value. When I started my health and weight loss journey, I took a calorie counting approach, and I had a lot of success with that. I used an app called MyFitnessPal to log my food, drinks, and exercises to meet my daily calorie intake goals. And in the first few months, I managed to lose about 20 pounds. And I did so eating, pizza rolls and drinking soda and chips on a regular basis. And I was very proud of that fact. I mean, I was just happy to be losing weight, frankly. But just also knowing like, oh, and I can eat the foods I want. All I have to do is count the calories. Um, but
But you managed
that's
to
a,
lose weight. Sorry, you managed to
yeah.
lose weight even on all these foods which were low in calories, but I mean, not the best quality of calories, right? So
Right. Yeah. I was just careful about budgeting them. Like they were, if they were higher in calorie, I just probably wasn't eating as much. I was carefully putting them into the calculator, making sure I was meeting my goals. But yeah, nutritionally they were garbage. Um, and so yeah, so I think the what I've come to learn and appreciate about eating habits is that that the number of calories you're consuming is not the only thing that matters. I've heard people on TV or the radio talk about how health food isn't really all that important because people can lose weight eating fast food and junk food as long as they monitor their calorie intake. And it upsets me because yes, that can be true. And I had that experience myself, but what I've learned in my journey is that the quantity of calories we consume isn't, I think I already said, but isn't the most important thing. And that quality is really what it comes down to. So,
And we all, so that's pretty good how you said the calories that we are consuming might not have the best quality that we need for our bodies, right? So there's a constant debate that people often have is between caloric density and there's a nutrient density. So some food are what we call calorically dense, but they're not not necessarily nutrient dense. But at the same time, there are foods which are nutrient dense but not calorically dense, which means they are rich in nutrients but maybe not high in calories, and the other ones, vice versa. So what do you have to say about that?
So I actually have an example to give on that exact fact. And when it comes to, kind of balancing between nutrient density and caloric density, it kind of can come down to budgeting. Like if you think of your calories like money, we all have a daily allowance. And one way to look at it is getting the most bang for your buck, as some say. And with this approach, fruits and vegetables are a great source. They're what you just described of like low calorie, high nutritional value. And then, excuse me. So for example, say you've got 200 calories left in your daily budget. You could eat about 3 small candy bars. And actually I have them to show. So I'm gonna show.
Yeah, all right.
So we're talking 200 calories left in your daily budget. You can have 3 small Twix bars. You could have 1 ounce of pecans.
All right.
Or you could have 17 ounces of carrots.
Oh my God. Okay. Wow, that's interesting.
And
That's a lot of carrots. Okay.
I know, yeah.
I doubt if anybody would eat that many carrots in a single day or.
Right, in a single day. I'm like, I love carrots personally. And I'm like, I could, but like the fact when I was putting them on the plate, they were starting to fall off. I'm like, this is so much. It's so huge. And so, yeah, so like of these 3 options, the Twix bars might sound the most enjoyable. And I think people, may not, as like we just said, like, can a person even eat this many carrots? I mean, I would try because I love carrots. But that's the beauty of it. Like a person could scarf down these candy bars and probably down 3 more after that with little consequence of feeling full or satiated. And that's because there's very little nutritional value in them. In fact, the reason we can eat so much candy and sugar in a sitting typically is because the sugar in it doesn't trigger insulin production. And because insulin isn't produced, the hormone leptin, which signals the brain that we're full, isn't released either. So we can keep eating it and our brain is none the wiser. Whereas like carrots do have some sugar content, but that type of sugar does trigger insulin production, which results in leptin release, signaling to our brains that we're full. Carrots also have fiber, which slows down the body's intake of the sugar. So the combination of factors demonstrates the difference between these two. And that's not even taking into account the polyphenols, the vitamins, and other nutrients that the carrots have that the candy bars don't. And then we have
When you're talking about the polyphenols in carrots and how you said they actually help trigger the insulin to actually bring your blood glucose levels normal. And so they have a link. So are you saying that insulin has a link to leptin?
Just in the way like the body is communicating it with itself, that yeah, like it's the insulin release that helps, and I hope I'm describing this the right way. Obviously not a doctor here. But yeah, it's the oh my gosh, the insulin release helps
Basically,
I think
helps release leptin, so tells our body that we are full, right? So
exactly.
how they're linked. So that's pretty good. Like, so you're saying that when we are eating carrots, we feel full. That's why we stop eating too many of them. Or when it comes to candy bars, since insulin is not being released in our body at such a faster rate for, as for carrots. So it's not, again, stimulating leptin. We're not feeling full. We keep on eating and then sort of like, binging on it. And that's
Right.
where the equation goes wrong. That's pretty good. So in your weight loss journey, did you ever have a time where you would see these candy bars and you're like, oh wow, so if I need to have this many calories, all I need to get is like these 3 candy bars, and then I'm done for the day, rather than going and reaching out to carrots? Did that ever happen to you?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, even still, there are days like I don't track my calorie intake like I did very early on in my journey, but like I have just kind of a mental awareness. Like after years of that practice, like I feel like I have a pretty good idea about what I'm eating. And so, sure, I mean, there's always days where it's like I'm having the candy bar today,
That's
but but I also try to balance that with like, but I'm always having vegetables throughout the day anyway. So I'm like, yeah, I was good on my veggie intake today. Whereas, 8 years ago, I was eating pizza rolls and potato chips, and those were my vegetables. Like it was a whole process. But yeah, so I'm sure it happened then. It definitely happens now.
Mm.
Yeah.
So things have
So
definitely taken like a U-turn and working really well for you without you having to really being concerned about, the number of calories that you are consuming. Pretty good. So
mhm.
Bailey, when we're talking about, you know some foods are don't have the best quality of calories, right? What are the major downsides of eating all those foods which don't have the best quality of calories, which are, I would say, calorically dense but nutrient deprived? They don't have the nutrients that our body needs. And a lot of people, I think, need to know this. So tell us more about, the major downsides which are leading to a lot of health disorders because of this problem.
Yeah. So the downsides of not taking into consideration the quality of foods that you're eating, there are a few things that could happen. The first thing is that we may not be consuming enough nutrients to keep our bodies healthy and functioning properly, even if we are technically consuming enough calories. Like we can keep going because people do, because so many people are running their bodies on a subpar diet as far as nutrients are concerned. But that's when illnesses can happen because they have not been getting the nutrients that their body desperately needs. And then something else that can happen is that for those who do have a calorie goal that they want to stick to, if they're not eating like nutritionally dense calories, then they may struggle to stick to their calorie goals. Because like I said, with the candy bar example, if the foods that you're eating are not filling you properly, like your brain doesn't even know that, like, yeah, you are getting those calories. It's just like, no, keep them coming.
You end up
Then
eating,
you're going to keep eating.
yeah, you'll keep eating, and that's what leads to weight gain. And then
Right.
again, and that is linked to a lot of other problems, because how you said that, um, the calories in the candy bars are not really triggering insulin, so our glucose levels are going up, and that's sort of
Mhm.
like putting us in that zone of, the risk of diabetes. And
Right.
because of weight gain, there's a lot of other problems that we are having. So there's too many toxins in our bodies that are not being, just excreted the way they should have, because
Yeah.
there's an absence of vitamins and minerals, but there's like, a plethora of calories and unused calories and unutilized calories.
Right.
So 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 in your case, you told us that there was weight gain was the major problem that you noticed, and that's something that you overcame by really looking at the food that you are consuming. um, have you ever come across anybody who had any sort of major health issues like diabetes, heart disease, maybe, I don't know, arthritis, any inflammation in their body, and when they switched from calorically dense foods to nutrient dense foods, how did it work for them?
Um, the first thing that comes to mind is actually like my parents, because as they were not living their healthiest lives for many years, struggled with their weight, same as me. And then I went through my health journey. I started it, and I was traveling through it, and then I I think inspired them. I'm pretty sure they've told me this. I'm not just like I was an inspiration to them, but really like they, eventually reached a point where they wanted to start taking better care of their lives and being more mindful about what they were eating, switching over to cleaner, more nutritious foods, that going to the gym, working out. My mom goes to the gym, it sounds like almost every day these days. And I think, I don't know, their medical records so, closely, but like just from what I've observed, they've, been like aging backwards practically. Like if you look at a picture of them now, compared to a picture of them, say 10 years ago, like, yes, they've aged 10 years, but they also look so much healthier than they did 10 years ago. And so yeah, I think, them switching up their diets and becoming more aware of the quality of the foods that they're eating, as well as adopting other healthy lifestyle habits too, has had a great impact on their overall well-being.
Wow, that's amazing. So basically, as you said, just by looking at the foods that they're eating and the amount of calories and the quality of calories, they've actually gone into that zone of reversing their aging process, and they
Right.
look healthier, they look more energetic, they feel better, and yeah. So I think there's so many benefits of really looking into the foods that we must be eating.
There
So
really is. Yeah. And actually, to that point, there was one more thing I wanted to share with you, in response to if you're not considering the quality and you're more focused on the quantity, something else that can happen is that people start inadvertently consuming things that are actually worse for them. Things like diet sodas, fat-free dips and dressings, no calorie sugar substitutes. Because again, this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning about how calories have kind of been demonized. We see them as something to avoid and minimize. So we turn to the products that I just mentioned, because then we still get to consume a version of the things we want, but without spending our calorie budget. However, the processes involved in making these things no or low calorie means they've been stripped of what nutrients they may have had originally, and often they've been supplanted with things that have even more of a negative impact on our bodies. In the case of fat-free foods, the fat has often been replaced with sugar, to lower the calorie value, but preserve the flavor lost after removing the fats. And so now you're just eating more sugar instead of fat. And in the case of sugar-free foods and drinks, many times the substitutes used, like aspartame and sucralose, are negatively impacting the gut microbiome, which I know you've talked about on your show before. And as well, these substitutes can also increase sugar tolerance and increase blood sugar more than actual sugar does. So that's just another factor to consider.
triggers insulin resistance and
Mhm.
leading to diabetes. That's great. And a lot of people do consider sugar-free foods and fat-free foods the healthier options when they want to stay away from fat and sugar. Say, oh, well, this doesn't have fat and this doesn't have sugar, so it's not going to impact my health the same way. But it's actually, as per some of this, the articles that I've read and the research papers, is actually worse because it's sort of like tricking your body's biochemistry into telling it that there's some sugar that's gonna come, but which when there's no sugar, your body is, acting in a way which is not supposed to. And all these
Right.
aspartame and sucralose are those chemicals, which, as you said, like are affecting the microbiome, and
Yeah.
really just the entire system goes out of whack because of this, right? So there are a lot of weight watchers who I'm sure are watching this video, are
Mhm.
counting calories, really want to lose weight and don't know the starting point to go about it. So what would you recommend? How should they start about this? What should their journey be all about?
So I think, especially regarding calories, and if they're new to this, the first step is awareness. I think many people are probably not fully aware of just how many calories they are eating in a day. And increasing your awareness of this is a very valuable first step. However, it's also important when you do this to approach it in a non-judgmental way. It can be very eye-opening and sometimes disheartening to learn how much more you've been eating than you even realized. So it's important to have grace and compassion for yourself while you do this. And then experimenting with a food diary like MyFitnessPal or a similar app, or a physical journal, like whatever works for you. Um, is a great way to learn not only how many calories you're consuming on average, but also where those calories are coming from, which foods in your day-to-day diet are the most calorie dense, which are the least, and are those low-calorie foods coming from whole food sources like vegetables, or are they diet food products packed with chemicals and other less valuable ingredients? So yeah, that would be my recommendation for those who haven't really thought much about this before. And that before you start trying to make any big changes, the first step is awareness and compassion for yourself.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think an important takeaway for a lot of people would be to just note one thing. As long as you are sticking to whole foods, you are getting the essential nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that must be there in your body to really metabolize all the calories that you're consuming. So, the biochemistry changes when you start eating whole foods. I think I've noticed in my case, when you start eating whole foods, you actually crave less of all the processed foods, and
Yeah.
your mind tells you what foods you be reaching out for, and what should you stay away from. So I think that's very important to start with. People should really see how many of their calories are coming from packaged foods, and foods, as we've learned, with the highest number of ingredients are actually the ones that are most processed. So
Yeah.
you won't see a nutrition label or ingredients on an apple on the aisle, or on the bananas or stuff like that, right? Vegetables.
Right, right.
I think, but when it comes to packaged foods, there's like a huge list of ingredients which we haven't even heard about, and we can't even pronounce a lot of them.
Right.
Very important to really switch to all of these things. That would be the starting point, and to really see and explore your relationship. How you said there should be some compassion and grace, and that comes with awareness will help. All right. So thank you, Bailey, once again for joining me on Back to Basics and sharing your knowledge on such an important element of food that is often overlooked. I'm sure that all those people who are watching this would be able to cultivate a healthier relationship with food and be mindful of what feeds them on their plates. If you want to know more about Yana's work, or would want to sign up for her program, log on to her website, www.yana, it's YANA, healthcoaching.com. I'd be sharing the link in the description below as well. Please share this video with as many people as you can, knowing that it's going to impact a lot of people out there. It's going to really change the way they look at food, and develop their relationship with it. And share your comments and feedback. And until next time, take lots of care of yourself, because you matter.